Hello everybody, good evening and welcome to the United Stand. This is the latest Manchester United news as Erik ten Hag faces some hard truths from the Manchester United board. We'll be dissecting the quotes of Ten Hag 2 weeks ago and where he stood and where he stands now as he accepts that January transfer reinforcements, which he wanted, will not probably happen because of the board's stance that they don't want to be buying in January. And on top of that, we'll also be delving into direct quotes from the CEO of Manchester United only 3 short months ago when he admitted that Manchester United need investment or they are in big, big trouble. We'll be bringing you those quotes, reminding you of those quotes and talking about those quotes tonight. We'll also be talking about some ridiculous comments from Jamie Carragher about Martinez versus Haaland. And it's Friday night, so we'll be getting into your questions as well. So we've got some good topics to get into tonight. But before we get into that, I am wearing my Boohoo Man clobber. We have the Boohoo Man Active Range QR code there and the link in the description, which can only mean one thing. We're obviously not sponsored by anybody else other than Boohoo Man, which means there's going to be a question for you. But before we get into that, Boohoo Man Active is all about looking good and feeling great. And as the weather gets colder, there's no better time to get yourself some brand new active wear because Boohoo Man is sponsoring the show. It means time for some Manchester United trivia. Again, this week we are seeing if you guys can guess which United legend Boohoo Man are actively talking about from the below clues. So here we go. I was born on the 2nd of May 1975. My middle names are Roberts and Joseph. I played 265 games for Manchester United, scoring 62 goals. During my United career, I won 6 Premier League titles, 2 FA Cups, 2 Charity Shields and 1 Champions League. So basically you won 6 Premier League titles, 2 FA Cups and 1 Champions League. We're not counting Charity Shields, David. I am one of Man United's famous number 7s. I've ruined it. And I left United in 2003, joining Real Madrid for 37 million. Well, it's definitely not David May, is it? Of course, it's David Beckham. Well done to everyone who got that before I actually gave a bit of a spoiler away. As always, Boohoo Man have got a United Stand discount for all of you by scanning the QR code or clicking the link in the description. You can get, and using the code Goldbridge, you can get 40% off at Boohoo Man, excluding certain items. So 40% off with the code Goldbridge. You can get yourself something like this. I'll tell you what, I know I keep wearing it for Boohoo Man, but it is really nice. It's a really nice hoodie. And nice is not a very good word, but it's comforting. It's a comfortable hoodie that I just wear around the house because I like red and black. And it's just really comforting, so I wear it a lot. Anyway, 40% off. You can get something like this or scan the QR code as well. Links in the video description. Big shout out and thank you to Boohoo Man for supporting the show. Not only supporting the show, but being interactive with our audience. Not everybody is like that. So big shout out to Boohoo Man this Friday night. So where to start? There's a good couple of things to start on the show tonight. Thanks to the new members as well. We have got a new video out for you today for the members. It comes out on every Friday. So if you are a member, don't forget to check out our new video, which is out. Looking at Eriksen, deep dive, looking at all his stats he's so far this season, passing stats, everything, and comparing him to what De Bruyne is doing, because I'm not saying he's better than De Bruyne, but it just shows you the importance of Eriksen in the team. So check out if you're a member. But let's go back into this now. So Ten Hag, before the international break, he said this: we've got many meetings, we have to improve the structures in and around the club, and we will have to look to the window in January or next summer already. So literally just over a couple of weeks ago, Erik ten Hag said he's going to have plenty of meetings about the structure in and out around the club. We'll also look at the window in January or next summer already. Well, he was also asked about it again today, and this is what he had to say about it. He basically said that at the press conference today, he was asked about future signings being the summer transfer window rather than January, and he said, I was already aware. The conclusion I look for is buys, but you have to prepare what can happen. Look to your squad, what is now there. It's also about working out strategies, how you see your players, how do you want to play. So look, Ten Hag basically being asked about the club's preference to buy in the summer rather than January, and he said I was already aware of that. But whether he's aware of it or whether he's not aware of it, it's clearly not what he wanted, because he clearly, like any manager, is not unique in the fact that he wants to get changes done as soon as possible. And no manager of Manchester United, Liverpool, Manchester City is in the luxurious position where they can go, It's fine. Relax. Let's take a chill pill. We don't need to do anything in January. We can wait till the summer. There is no guarantee in Manchester United's managerial hot seat that you can just go, yeah, it doesn't matter how well the season's doing in January. Let's wait till the summer. Ten Hag's a man on a mission. He knows that January transfer window is important, and he probably knows he could get a couple of players in that he can, improve his team with halfway through the season and blood in for the summer as well. So he will want signings, and basically he's towing the party line that you have to tow if you work under the Glazers. That doesn't make him a puppet. It just makes him a realist. He cannot say any more than what he said before the international break. He mentioned the January transfer window, and within hours of it, I think we had Richard Arnold and John Murtagh and the press saying that Man United will be buying in the summer and they won't have a summer like they've just had there. So United very, very quickly to dismiss this whole signing in the summer thing, signing in January thing, which, to be honest with you, isn't very surprising when we're run like we are run. So it's a hard truth. That's what it is. It's a hard truth. Digest it, deal with it. But I don't agree with it. I don't like it. I don't think Ten Hag will like it. But the reality is he's aware of it. He's admitted he's aware of it. And he probably came into the Manchester United job with his eyes wide open because he's a very intelligent, methodical man. And I think he will have looked at Manchester United, spoken to Louis van Gaal, certainly spoke to Louis van Gaal, and felt that he can still be successful despite the way the club is run. But who knows what promises he was made before and after he's become Manchester United manager. And I wouldn't rule it out completely that we won't sign somebody in January, but I think it's becoming very, very clear that we don't have a lot of money. And it doesn't matter what side of the fence you're on. I think most people are on the side of get the Glazers out and support Erik Ten Hag, but it doesn't really matter. There is no evidence out there that Manchester United have got a lot more money to invest in this squad. And in fact, I think we're heading towards, if it wasn't Manchester United and it was Leeds United, I'd say we're heading towards bankruptcy. I think the fact that we're such a big club with such a big fan base and such a big interest will probably never face bankruptcy. But if we didn't have such a big fan base and such big interest in the brand of Manchester United, I'd say we're teeteringly very close towards bankruptcy because we're paying ridiculous wages on players that nobody else wants and we really don't want. And then we're still spending ridiculous money on wages on players when we need more players. I mean, effectively, Man United have got the biggest wage bill in the Premier League and we are probably the 5th or 6th best team in the Premier League. It doesn't add up. It's a financial nightmare. So it's a very big job for Erik Ten Hag, and ultimately, it doesn't matter whether you're Erik Ten Hag, Eric Cantona or Eric the Eagle Edwards, you are going to struggle to succeed at Manchester United if you've got a board that is basically saying, we can't afford to give you any more money. And I don't think they can. I don't think there is a lot of more money. I really don't. Which leads me on to my next comment, which I wanted to talk about, which I've just gone and bloody deleted, which is annoying. But let me see if I can get it. Why is it closed 2 browsers when I was... I'll get it. I've got it back. Don't worry. Got it back. Don't worry. I had it already prepared for you, and then it went and bloody closed. Right. Okay. So these are direct quotes from Richard Arnold, who is the CEO of Manchester United Football Club, and he mentioned these things in June. So 3 months ago. 3 months ago. So if you think Manchester United have got money, this is Richard Arnold, Manchester United CEO, 3 months ago, and he says this, right? For the future, for the investing in a new stadium and a latest and greatest training ground, we've got to do something. We've got to get investors in. I need that to do what I want for the club. I've got to have more cash now because no club in the world has the money to build a new stadium. You either borrow it or invest it. The money has got to come from somewhere. And this was Richard Arnold when he was asked about transfer funds and new stadia. For the future and investing in a new stadium and at latest and greatest training ground, we've got to do something. We've got to get investors in. I need that to do what I want for the club. I've got to have more cash now because no club in the world has got the money to build a new stadium. You either borrow it or invest it. The money has got to come from somewhere. You know what? Sometimes the truth sets you free and sometimes the truth is out there. You've just got to go and find it. Our CEO 3 months ago said that Manchester United have got no money to build a new stadium and no money to chuck it, not enough money to spend on rebuilding a team without investment or borrowing. That is from our CEO, from his own mouth. The guy who is running this football club is publicly admitting we haven't got the money to build a stadium and rebuild a team. We need to borrow or invest. That is the ownership of Manchester United, and that is the mouthpiece of the Glazers admitting we don't have the money. So when I keep saying I think they're going to sell, and it's got nothing to do with protests or you or me or anybody else, it's because of that. As soon as Richard Arnold said that in June, I was like, this is going to go really, really bad, or they're going to sell. Because if they bring external hedge funds in from God knows where to invest in Man United, we'll become even more of a bloody brand than we are now. I mean, basically, instead of being owned by the Glazers, you'd be owned by the Glazers, another set of the Glazers, another set of the Glazers, who basically invest to take their pound of flesh. The worst thing that can happen to United, and I think the Glazers are probably looking for it, is the Glazers own Manchester United and they take their dividends out. They get an investor in to build the stadium for 200 million, and they say to them, we'll give you 400 million back over the next 10 years. So not only are the Glazers going to take dividends, you're then giving dividends to the people who invest. It's a bloody nightmare. So I think that, look, it may not be everybody's cup of tea to discuss the financial ramifications for Manchester United, but what we're ultimately talking about when we're talking about the stadium investment is we're also talking about the squad investment. If Manchester United don't have £200-300 million to spend on a new stadium, they don't have £200-300 million to spend next summer on the squad. We're basically out of time and we're out of money. That's where we are. We haven't got any money. And people will say, well, we've just spent 100 million euros on Anthony, just spent 60 million pounds on Casemiro. We'll be paying that back. I don't know where they found that money. Nobody knows. You speak to any journalist, anybody close to the club, and they'll go, it's almost like they magicked it out of somewhere. Where did they find that money? 160 million in the last week and a half of the transfer window suddenly materialised, but they wouldn't pay De Jong's wages that he's owed by Barcelona. They were trying to get Rabiot for 15 million that nobody else wanted. They were trying to get Arnautovic for 13 million. And then somewhere, suddenly, they found 160 million. That money will not be... I don't know where it was from. It certainly wasn't there. And God knows how we're going to end up paying it back. But I tell you what, I think Erik ten Hag is not going to get much more investment with these owners because they just clearly haven't got the money. They cannot build a stadium without investment. And this isn't speculation, people. This is from the mouth of the CEO. It's a hard truth again. When we're talking about rebuilding this football club, Erik ten Hag is rebuilding something and it's very, very positive. But away from Erik ten Hag, it's very, very clear we've got no bloody money. And they're only going to get money by investing. So I despair at where we're heading because I think we're heading for a very, very, very harsh and hard truth is the fact that we just don't have any money. And that is why I have to believe that the Glazers are going to sell. Because if you own something and you can't afford to improve it, it's just going to depreciate in value. I just have a feeling that the club will sell future earnings like Barca, generate cash to have a hold on the club, says Lil. I tell you what, Lil, I think the protests have been fantastic. I think the constant noise from you and every other Man United fan is fantastic about the Glazers out. What would we do if these owners started getting private investments in or selling things off? What would we do? What would we do? Would people then be willing to not go into Old Trafford? Would they then be willing to, take the hard steps that most people at the moment, quite rightly, don't want to take? But yeah, the worst case scenario is that the Glazers don't sell and look for investment to keep hold of the club and just, carve United up to more and more Glazers. Hi, Mark. What are your thoughts on Patrick Schick from Bayer Leverkusen as a forward option, says Hugh. I like him. I like Schick. We've spoken about him for a couple of years, ever since the Euros, and I do like him. Murtaugh, Arnold and the Glazers are the biggest enemies and threat to United's progress. Clearly, they hate doing the things needed to be successful, says SK. At the end of the day, they are all they're just puppets. They're on the payroll. They can't say what they really think, and they won't say what they really think because they'd rather pick up their paycheck at the end of each month, wouldn't they? there's no other way of dressing it up. I think there's some fantastic people who work at Manchester United, but the reality is if you're high up on the board and you're making big decisions in that football club, you are basically on board with what the Glazers think. And ultimately, people will keep their receipts in relation to that. If the Glazers left, Richard Arnold's done. John Murtaugh's done. You're gone. Unless you're very lucky, you're gone because you basically sat back and allowed and put up with what was going on. And ultimately, what were they supposed to do? But the reality is they're all party to it. Hi, Mark. Score prediction for Sunday, says Will. I've already done it. Why don't you watch other videos? 1-1. But talking about Sunday, let's move the show on a bit. I want to talk about what Jamie Carragher has said. It's Friday night. We'll go all over the place on a Friday night. So Jamie Carragher, Sir Jamie Carragher. I said Jamie Carragher, Sir Jamie Carragher. He probably will get a knighthood at one point, won't he? Although he's a Scouser, so he probably won't want it. But Jamie Carragher, I think Jamie Carragher is the quintessential ex-player. At times, he's got a personality and he can have a laugh, which I think is a big thumbs up for a start because not all of them do. And sometimes he comes out with really good comments and sometimes he basically burps shit. And today, he really has let a big burp out. So he's basically said in an article, and it's hard to know with Carragher being a Scouser, whether he actually believes it or he's actually just trying to wind people up. But if you say things out publicly, then effectively you are going to get the backbite from it. And she's whacking a spoon again. The point is that we have a situation where he has basically come out and said that if I was Eric Ten Hag, the best advice I can give to Lisandro Martinez in the Manchester derby is to stay away from Erling Haaland. There aren't that many centre-backs that are good under 6 foot, but those that are flawless in all other areas of their game, and it's way too early to think that Lisandro Martinez is that. Absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. When I think of Jamie Carragher, I think he's talking fucking shite. I really do. I think he's talking about Manchester United players. And I don't think he knows what he's on about. I think he's just saying it because he's had a bad day. He's taken one down. You think about this and you think about that. But he's talking absolute crap. Absolute crap. It's disrespectful. He'd never say that about Maguire because he's English. So why are you saying it about Lisandro Martinez? If Lisandro Martinez was called Leonard Martin and played centre-back for England, there is absolutely no way Jamie Carragher would come out with such verbal diarrhoea. He just wouldn't do it. He would not sit there and go, if I was Ten Hag, I'd be telling Leonard Martin, England's best centre-back, to hide from Haaland. It's disrespectful. But I take it in the manner I think it is. I really think he's just trying to wind United fans up. And if he's done that, then maybe he's right. But the scary thing is he might actually believe what he's on about. And I said this a couple of days ago. Lisandro Martinez will make a mistake. And when he makes a mistake, Graham Souness, Jamie Carragher and everybody else who took a pop at Lisandro Martinez's height will be right at the front of the queue saying, I told you so. I told you. When I look at Lisandro Martinez, he's just not big enough. I told you. I told you, Gary. I told you. He's just not big enough. But it'll be one game. And all surrounded by that, there'll be the other games that Martinez has played well, and there'll be games after that. He's going to make a mistake, and it's suddenly going to be, he's 5'10". I told you he's not. He's Bilbo Baggins. He's Bilbo Baggins. He's not big enough. But he will make a mistake, and he might make a mistake on Sunday. He's up against arguably the best striker in the world at the moment. But it's not analysis. It's not intelligent observation of football. And I guarantee you that these people, they haven't watched Ajax, they haven't watched Argentina, and they don't know what Lisandro Martinez is all about. We spoke about Martinez before he kicked a ball for Manchester United. We deep dived Lisandro Martinez statistically across many games. And he's not useless in the air, and he's absolutely brilliant at other things. He's our best ball-playing defender. And we've got Rafael Varane, Harry Maguire and Victor Lindelof, none of which are bad with the ball at their feet. They're not. But Lisandro Martinez is on a different level. So This nonsense that Lisandro Martinez needs to hide away from Erling Haaland. You know, the first person who's going near Erling Haaland is Lisandro Martinez. I think if McTominay tries to go near Haaland and rough him up, Martinez will say, step aside, boy. I'm doing it. Like, he's the first person who's going for Haaland. And you know, the scary thing is, these ex-players, these experts, they're paid a lot of money because they used to play the game, yeah? There is an insight that they can give us because they've been in dressing rooms, they've been on football pitches, they can talk about what it's like to be on the pitch. I don't think because they played football they've got a real grasp of modern football though. Lisandro Martinez has already played against Erling Haaland very well. He's already played against him very, very well. So where's this nonsense coming from that if I was Erik Ten Hag, I'd tell Lisandro Martinez to go and hide and seek, go and hide behind the bed. Like, he's already played against him. And if you actually knew anything about him and his personality, he ain't hiding from anybody. Not hiding from anybody. So, look, I'm not going to sit here and say that on Monday morning, Souness and Carragher aren't going to have their breakfast and go, I told you so, I told you so. They might get that. Because, to be honest with you, Erling Haaland, as much as I'd love to ridicule him, and I heard people ridicule him, I knew he was going to be a success. Because Manchester City will create chances and he's a brilliant striker. And he might feast on Sunday. There's nothing we can do about it. If Man City play to their... Pep said it himself. If Man City play well on Sunday, they'll beat us. Because if Man City play well, they'd have won a Champions League by now. Because they are a brilliant side. There's not many teams that can beat Man City when they play well. And if they play well on Sunday, it doesn't matter how well we defend, Erling Haaland will probably score a goal. Doesn't mean Varane's crap, doesn't mean Martinez is crap. So I find it ridiculous. I find that level of analysis offensive, disrespectful, and therefore I have to just take it as banter because I don't actually believe that a player of Carragher's ability and a pundit of his potential could sit there, write an article and honestly say, hand on heart, that the best thing that Martinez can do is hide away from Erling Haaland on Sunday and it not be a joke. Because if it's not a joke, I'm sorry, mate, you've exposed yourself as being Premier League centric and having your head up your arse when it comes to European football. Because I know loads of people who consume European football and they will know that the last thing Lisandro Martinez is going to want to do or need to do against any striker is hide. It's not his personality. It's like saying Roy Keane's playing against Vieira. The best thing Roy Keane can go and do is hide in the tunnel. It's never going to happen. He might lose the battle, but he ain't going to hide in the tunnel. That's what Lisandro Martinez is. He's the butcher. And he ain't Pat Butcher. Pat. He's the butcher. So, look, I ain't going to sit here and say he's going to dominate Haaland, he's going to win the battle. I think it's going to be a very interesting battle, but he ain't going to bloody hide, that's for sure. I think we're coming back. Watch this space, says Jonathan. And Bilbo Baggins, I'm still laughing. You made my day, Mark, says Ahmed. Carragher was shy, bluffed the career at Poole like many at United in the last 10 years. Well, it's like I said, Tommy, when I heard it. You know, Carragher says that the best thing that Martinez can do is go and hide from Erling Haaland. What? Like, I mean, Jamie Carragher is the world champion at hide and seek when it comes to Premier League titles, isn't he, in England caps? I mean, bloody, I couldn't get in the England team and couldn't win a Premier League title. So, you know, when it comes to hide and seek, he's probably the best person to advise, but he's picked the wrong person to go and hide. There ain't no way Martinez is hiding on Sunday. Not in a million years. He might lose the battle, but he won't hide. He will not hide. The fact that we are talking about it means Carragher has done his job and Sky are happy, says Jitesh. Yeah, but you know what? You've got to be better than that. You've got to be better than that. I live in this world, you live in this world, and you can be somebody who goes viral for a stupid opinion. I don't want to be that person. I know it's happened to me. I've never done it deliberately, and I don't want it to be like that. I actually want to be able to have a conversation. I actually want to be able to be fair. And look, I will make bad takes, but I'll make them sincerely. And if Carragher's been sincere on his opinion of Martinez needing to hide on Sunday, that's shockingly bad. But if he's joking and being banter about it, I mean, yeah, it's up to him, innit? How tall is Jamie anyway, says Claude. I think he's... no, I'm not going to say that. It's a bit rude. Goldbridge with the gunshots. Not at all. Not at all. I mean, I've said before, I'd happily sit opposite these lot and have a chat. I don't think they want to do it for whatever reason. Maybe they think they're above it. I don't know. But those sort of conversations make me believe what I've always said to you for years. Don't ever put yourself down. Don't ever put your football opinion down. I did a podcast with two lads yesterday on Twitter who... their analysis and understanding of European football and football in general is A star because they just sit consuming football at a deep level. They're football fans. There's loads of people like that. You can do that. I can do that. And I don't need to sit back. Like when I was growing up, I had to sit down on a Saturday night and listen to Mark Lawrenson, Alan Hansen, Gary Lineker, Jimmy Hill, all these people tell me about football. And when I hit about 13, I got to a point where I was like, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. He's bitter about Man United. I don't agree with that. And the world now, you don't have to agree with it. You can actually have your own voice, your own conversation. You can go on Twitter tonight and have a chat with people. You can do a space, whatever. And this is great for football, but it exposes bad opinion. And I'm a very strong believer that some of these pundits, experts, are so busy with their personal lives and what their social lives and their professional lives. I don't actually think. I think it's quite obvious that certain ex-United players don't watch every United game. So if they're not watching every United game, they certainly ain't watching Ajax in the Champions League. They're certainly not aware of what Ten Hag is, and they're certainly not aware of Lisandro Martinez. And the same for Liverpool ex-players. It's very, very clear that they don't watch every bloody club, every game of the club they're meant to support. Or if they do, they're tucking into sandwiches or something because they're not watching the games the way we do, and they're certainly not watching. I mean, you said to them, who's Jonathan David? And they'd probably say, oh, is he in the new Marvel film? Like, they probably wouldn't know. So there's a level of knowledge and education that I think football fans don't give themselves credit for, because you consume football at a level that's just unbelievable because there's so much knowledge to consume. Carragher didn't watch Ajax versus Dortmund last year. Exactly, DJ. That's exactly what I'm saying. They're not consuming football enough, and then they are dictating to us opinions that just really, and we've all got bad opinions. I mean, look, everyone knows I'm massively behind Ronaldo, and I still think he'll prove everybody wrong. I might be wrong myself, but I believe it, and people could say that's a bad take. But there's evidence as to why I believe it, because throughout his career he's always bounced back. But when you get an opinion like what we've heard with Martinez, he's 5'10", he's too small for the Premier League. You're like, oh my God, you're not even consuming the league that you're talking about. You don't even watch Premier League football in the way that you need to. A centre-back's too small for the Premier League. It's 2022. It's not 2002. People aren't whipping crosses in for Peter Crouch or Brian Deane or bloody John Fashanu. This is 2022. Hardly any team whips crosses into a target man anymore. Most football is played on the ground at pace. The only time crosses are coming into the box are set pieces and free kicks, and at that point you can bring Ronaldo back, McTominay back. Like, people think that Martinez is going to be stood on his own on the penalty box with a 6'10" striker. It's just not modern football. It's just not the way football's played anymore. But these people, they think football's played like it was 20 years ago, and it's not. It's not what it's about anymore. And also, people can criticise Martinez's height, but they're not focusing in on his attributes that make him one of the most desirable and easy on the eye centre-backs in the Premier League. His ability to just read the game on the halfway line and get in front of the striker. His ability to play between the lines as a centre-back. His ability to take the ball in any situation and be confident on the ball. I mean, he's basically a centre midfielder playing at centre-back. He's a lovely, lovely player. And I just don't think anybody's figured it out yet. And you know what will happen? At some point, somebody, whether it's an ex-player of United or a Jamie Carragher, at some point they'll end up doing an article in their paid article bits, and they'll go, Lisandro Martinez is a revelation and one of the best centre-backs in the world, and here's why. And it will be revelled as an inside piece from a forward-thinking pundit. But it isn't. So many times I see us discussing things, and then 3 or 4 months later it gets discussed in the main media. How many times did we talk about Man United's midfield being the problem for about the last 18 months? And then about last October, you got people like Scholesy and Gary Neville talking about Man United's midfield. About 8 months after you lot had been talking about it. And this happens a lot. You get a lot of it where it needs to hit the mainstream media because that gives it more exposure. But you'll have been talking about it for ages. And at some point, I guarantee you with Martinez, somebody on the mainstream will say, I'm telling you now, I've got this really interesting take. Martinez is a modern centre-back that is revolutionising the centre-back position. We're so used to centre-backs being 6'4", dominant in the air, and basically give the ball to the midfield maestro with a simple 5-yard pass. Martinez is changing the game. He's not particularly big, but he's good in the air. He can carry the ball from the defence into the midfield. He can pass between the line. He reads the game really well. He's tenacious in the tackle. He intercepts. He is the modern centre-back. And I've figured this out by watching him. Nobody's told me about it. And we'll all be going, been talking about it for fucking 8 months, you know. I nearly called him something else. You idiots. All right, Mark, what's your favourite Man United dream team starting 11 in your lifetime? Any formation you like, says Luke82. Oh, Luke, I'll do that at the end. Mark, Carragher should probably be more concerned what Haaland will do to Liverpool defence. Martinez is doing fine at United, says Andy and Bruno. Look, you will get, and can I just repeat? I do, even though he's a Scouser, I do like a lot of what Carragher says, but I think this is just, I think it's ignorance, and I think I'm going to take it as banter because I just don't think anybody can be like that. I also think as well, if I'm being completely cynical, if you are somebody that wants Martinez to fail and you want to be proved right, because a lot of them jumped on Martinez when he first came in that first game against Brentford. They jumped on him and were like, he's too small to play in the Premier League. And they got ridiculed after that because suddenly Man United's defence went on a 4-game winning streak based on the defence. Nobody likes to be proved wrong, and most professional footballers are very competitive. And they're not competitive just with wanting to win. They're competitive with wanting to be proved right. So there's ego at stake here. And I think there will be certain ex-players, certain media outlets that want to be proved right on Martinez because they criticised him. What better time to predict Martinez is going to get exposed than Manchester United's away trip to the best team in the country with the best striker in the country? If you're a betting person and you are predicting when Martinez might have a difficult game, it's not a surprise that it might be at the Etihad against the best team in England with the best striker in England. And then if he does have a difficult game, and these people come out going, I told you so, I told you so. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's like, you know, a middleweight boxer who can beat everybody at middleweight, getting into the ring with the world's best ever heavyweight boxer, and then somebody saying, he's shit, he's a shit boxer. And then when he gets knocked out, going, I told you he was rubbish. Look, he's just got knocked out. But there's levels to this game, and this is probably Lisandro Martinez and Rafael Varane's most difficult game of the season. It is their most difficult game of the season. It's at the Etihad against a team that's going to have 70% possession with the most in-form striker in the world up against them. It's their most difficult game of the season. Anfield won't be as difficult as this. It will give different challenges, but it won't be as difficult as this. To be honest, Souness just said I hate United instead of giving an opinion. He is too salty, says Jay. Anyway, get your questions in, everyone. Make sure you smash a like on the video and subscribe. I love Martinez, and like you, Miko, I love Martinez. He says I'd love Martinez at Chelsea. I love Martinez. I don't care whether we get beat 4-0 on Sunday and he costs us all 4 goals. I'll still love Martinez at 4 o'clock on Sunday. I love Martinez because he is a rarity when he should be we should have loads of these players. He reminds me of Paul Ince, of Roy Keane, of Brian Robson, of Nemanja Vidic. These fire players, they've got this fire in their belly where, all right, they're going to go home to their wife and their families, and you know they're going to train and everything like that, and they're going to be very wealthy and they're going to make a great career out of football. But when they go on the pitch, none of that matters. It's this competitive spirit that you either have it or you don't. I had it. My father had it. He has it. Line from Star Wars. No, I did have it on a very amateur level. I'm sure many of you have got it. When I go on the football pitch, I'm petulant, aggressive, got a lot of yellow cards. I mean, I might not look like it. I mean, you don't have to be Rocky Balboa to be aggressive and petulant. He's got it. He's got it in bucket loads. David Beckham, you know what? David Beckham had it. David Beckham had it. And people would go, what? David Beckham? He used to wear a sarong and he used to change his hair every week. He had the fire. He had the fire. David Beckham had the fire just as much as Roy Keane had the fire. He was up for it. He was aggressive. He was petulant. These are the players that you attach yourself to like a magnet when you're a fan, because that's what you are like as a fan. You're absolutely powerless. Every Saturday or Sunday afternoon, you're putting your hands, you're putting your feelings in the hands of 11 millionaires and what they feel like doing on that day. And you do, you know, the amount of times United would lose a game on a Saturday afternoon and I was going out on a Saturday evening and I'd be moody because that United team controls my emotions. So when you find these players like Lisandro Martinez and Nemanja Vidic and Roy Keane and David Beckham, and even people like Ander Herrera had it, you log on to those players like a magnet because you're like, no matter what happens, even if we lose a game, I know they're going to feel like me. I know after the game they're going to be gutted. I know during the game they're going to give everything. Those are the players that make you love football, and those are the players that you want playing for your club. And Martinez is quite clearly one of those players. He just gets it. And I don't think it's a love for Manchester United. I'm sure he loves Manchester United now, but he was doing it at Ajax as well. I'm sure he does it for Argentina. I'm sure if he'd gone to Arsenal or Chelsea, he would have done it. But he's at Manchester United, and he's just got it. So I think when there is criticism of him, already I feel ridiculously defensive towards him because he's just got that fire. He's just got that connection that binds a player with a fan base, and not every player can do it. So yeah, he's certainly somebody that I'm hoping is going to be really important in our future, and I think he's got the potential to play a number of positions as well. I think he could move into the midfield if it ever became a problem with his height, which I genuinely don't think it will. I just genuinely don't think it will. I think we will concede goals because of his height. I think every now and again, if we're caught on the break, there might be a cross where a taller player gets above him. But I really think when you watch modern football, there's not that many times in a season, let alone a game, where you're going to be able to expose a 5'10" centre-back with a 6 striker. I mean, it's 2 inches. And 2 inches can make a difference, but I just don't see it. I can see the sort of goal where he'd be in problems, where it's sort of like you're stretched, a cross comes in from the left, it's perfect, De Gea can't get to it, it's around the penalty box, and it's a clear jump with momentum for the striker, and he gets up and he heads it past De Gea. But that sort of scenario is very difficult to replicate even once a game, let alone once a month. So I just don't think it's going to be a problem. I don't think it's going to be a problem, to be honest with you. Mania says that his football hero is Heinz. Well, Gabriel Heinze, Marcus Rojo, Carlos Tevez, these are 3 Argentinians we had at Manchester United. And to be honest with you, they all had the fire. I mean, there's different levels of ability. There's different levels of mercenary. Tevez going to Man City was probably our fault, to be honest. But he never, there's a lot of Argentinian players that just have that fire, and I don't know why it is, but it is a very stereotypical thing to say that Argentinians do tend to have that fire in them, more so than the Brazilians. There are Brazilian players that have it, but Argentinian, they do. You're right. You're right, and maybe we've just had a small pool of players that reflect that sort of style. But I mean, Rojo was aggressive. But no, look, I think Heinz and Rojo aren't on the same level as Martinez. I think he's going to be a better player for us, and I'm very excited about it. And I think he's been here for such a short period of time, but he has got that fan backing, and I just want him to succeed. I really do just want him to succeed because I think he's been unfairly treated very early on. You very rarely get that as well. I don't think you would get that with an English player, a Scottish player, an Irish player, a Welsh player. I don't think you would get that. I don't think a new player coming to Manchester United for £45 million, if they had a British passport or an Irish passport, would come to Manchester United and after their first 45 minutes have a lot of the media going, they're too small to play as a centre back. I don't think you'd get it. I think it's an ignorance and a naivety and a lack of knowledge of what type of player he is. And I don't think it's very fair how he's been treated. But his response to it's been perfect, and he probably hasn't got a bloody clue who Jamie Carragher, Graham Souness, or anybody else who criticised him is, to be honest. I think he's. In fact, from the limited I've seen of him, and from what I've heard of him, like, the United players love him. They absolutely love him. The coaches love him. Same with Anthony, but they absolutely love Martinez. Apparently, his butcher reputation on the pitch is not what he's like off the pitch. He's like really communicative, speaks very good English, and is really good with the youth players as well. So he's really well liked and respected already. And I'm hopefully he's going to be a really good player for us. Rush says, Nkunku going to Chelsea. At this point, Chelsea buying every player Man United look into. In relation to Nkunku, I tweeted it this morning. He is going to go to Chelsea. Chelsea moved very quickly to do that deal. I think it's a really good deal for Chelsea as well. I think Chelsea are crying out for a player like Nkunku. They've got to be a bit careful, Chelsea, because they've had their fingers burnt a little bit. Werner from the Bundesliga didn't work out. Havertz has been a bit hit and miss. But Nkunku's a player I think we would love at Manchester United. But there are a few players that United, I believe, could have bought and would have been interesting signings, but it disappeared when Rangnick left. And Rangnick would have been an Nkunku player we could have got. Lema would have been a Rangnick signing we could have got. Akanji would have been a player that we could have got. Now, Akanji's very interesting because we could play against Akanji on Sunday. John Stones is out injured. But I was speaking to a Man City fan last night, actually, and really impressed with Akanji they are. So, look, it's a different path. Rangnick's a different path to Ten Hag. We can't keep looking back. I don't think Ten Hag is massively interested in signing Nkunku, to be honest with you. But I know a lot of you probably would be. Pele says that not getting Gakpo is a big mistake, and this goes for Timber as well. And Nkunku. It was fun, but we've had a network problem again. I can't figure this out at the moment. I'm like, it's just weird. It's really weird. I don't know why it does it. I'm not going to bore you with the technicals because it's a Friday night and I can't be arsed, but it's a weird one. It's really weird. I have two different internet providers and it can switch between one and the other in that, yet consistently, at some point on an evening stream, it just seems to want to go down. And I don't really get it. I don't really get it at all. It could be a computer issue. You're right, Jack. It could be a computer issue. Hi, Mark from Callista. Have a big game myself the weekend in St Anne's Park. I don't know if you know it. I don't know St Anne's Park, but I do know Callista. James, thank you very much for that. I'll be so honest. Lissandro was a better signing than Timber would have been, says Stutz. And Seb's downloading something, says Tommy. Seb's in bed. It's funny, actually. I did an Instagram story tonight on @GoldbridgeMark, and I was just chatting away, and he perfectly timed his word of bubbles. But yeah, he's in bed now. What was I going to say? It sort of lost my flow now, but we've got most of the show done, to be fair, anyway. I know what I was going to say. Yes, I know what I was going to say. Yeah, I just can't wait for this game on Sunday. I think the bigger picture at Manchester United is concerning, but hopefully it will right itself. I think that we've got a problem with the owners. Surprise, surprise, we've got a problem with the owners, and I think that they've got no money and they can't build the stadium, so they're going to look for investment, and I think that's going to be the next interesting thing. Are you doing any watch-alongs tomorrow, Sandra? Yes, I'm doing the Manchester. I'll be live on United Stand at around 10, and then tomorrow lunchtime I'm doing the North London Derby on That's Football, which I'm looking forward to as well. Definitely. Just a big shout out to the members. Thank you very much if you have clicked and joined. You've got your badges next to your name like Mark Searles has. Thank you very much for supporting the channel. Not only do you get your badge next to your name, we do some extra content for you as well, which is exclusive to our members. Done a bit of a video on Eriksen as our player of the month, a bit of a profile on Eriksen, deep diving what he's been doing, his passing success rates, his forward passing, his defensive work, and thrown in De Bruyne as well, just because it's a Manchester derby, just to show how close he is to him on a lot of things. I mean, as a bit of a spoiler, Eriksen is a better forward passer than De Bruyne this season, more accurate as well. So yeah, check that out by clicking the join button. Really appreciate that. And what else was I going to say? Yeah, you can do that by clicking the join button. Don't forget, we've been sponsored by Boohoo Man. You can get 40% off with the code Goldbridge. And I'll be back in the morning and with the watch-alongs tomorrow as well. So thank you everybody for watching. This internet's fucking weird again. I can see it's going to drop any second, so I'm going to get out while I can. Thanks everyone for watching. Really enjoyed the show. I love the Friday night shows, and I hope you enjoyed it as well.